everybody, welcome back and thank you for joining Miss Lynn at Hudson's House of Play for our craft tutorial. So this week we've been talking about the natural wonders of the world, and today we learned about the Grand Canyon, and we learned that the Grand Canyon was made of several different types of rocks. And so today our class is going to be making their very own sediment jar. And what is that? Well, we are going to collect some outside rocks and debris and maybe some leaves, some dirt, and then we're going to watch it settle in our jar, just like all of the years and years of sediment that has settled to create the layers in our Grand Canyon. Now, if you don't have the ability to go outside and get some dirt, then I have a second option for you, and I'll do them both because they're both really fun and you might want to try doing them both as well. So let's start with our dirt. That's the first thing we'll need. So Miss Lynn has collected some dirt outside from her garden, and I've made sure to include little bits of rock and leaves and also some mulch as well. So it looks just like that. Yeah, so just go out there, dig around, and fill a little container with some dirt. Next, you're going to need a jar. So I have a few different jars here, different sizes. You just want to make sure that you can see right through the jar so you can watch how everything settles down. I'm going to use this one. I like the nice and tall one. And then our next step is we need our water. Yeah, we're gonna use some water to fill up our jar and mix it with the dirt, and that way we can kind of shake it up and watch everything settle. So I'm gonna start with those materials first so that you can do this craft first, and then we'll move into the second option. All right, so you want to make sure your jar has a lid because we're going to be adding the water and we're going to be shaking it up. So make sure that you have a good lid that won't open up when you shake it. The next step is we are going to pour our water and our dirt in. Miss Lynn is going to start with a little bit of water at the bottom, just like that. And then I'm going to put my dirt in. Now, I have a container that I can just squeeze and start dropping the dirt pieces in. If you need, you can always use a funnel, or you can use a little spoon to scoop it all in. A spoon would be a good option. I'm definitely just going in with my hands because I like the feeling of all of the textures. Whoa, I'm making quite the mess though. All right, I have some rocks here, and I'm just gonna throw in the last little bit. I don't wanna fill it up too much because I still have a lot of water to add, so I'm gonna finish up by scooping a little bit of the leaves from the bottom, and then I'll leave the rest for later. Now I have the rest of my water, I'll pour that in and let it fill to the top. All right, now we need to make sure that we seal this nice and tight so that it doesn't spill. I think I have a little more water I can add. There we go. Seal it up nice and tight. Now the fun part. We're gonna shake it up just like this. Ooh, make sure you really sealed it in tight, and maybe you can get an adult to help you. And then we're just gonna set this aside. Look at that black water. We're gonna set this aside, and over time, just like our canyon has, all the sediments will settle down at the bottom. So I'm gonna put this down to the side for now. And I'm just gonna clean up my little station here very quickly. I did get a lot of dirt on the table. Oh, Miss Lynn, what a mess. And I'll show you our second craft. All right, let's pour that all back in there. Okay, now I'm gonna show you how you can do a sediment jar without the dirt. So we'll take this jar that I have here, and let me show you all of the different household items that I have that can represent the different layers in our rock. So I have, ooh, what are these? Gorilla Munch, some cereal. I have beans. I have rice. I have my cornmeal. And I have some lentils as well. And I even have some flour. So you don't have to have all of these items, but just a few of them would be good. You want to make sure you're able to capture all the different layers and textures of our rock formation. So again, you can use a spoon or you can use a funnel, whatever makes it easy for you to transition your materials into your jar. Miss Lynn has a big opening for her jar, so that makes it a lot easier. Now, when we are doing the second option, it's our job to order which pieces or which materials are the largest and put them in order from largest to smallest. And then we want to make sure we're starting with the smallest, finest grain at the bottom and then building all the way up. So Miss Lynn is going to put that in order for you. Let's start with our cornmeal and I'm just going to actually use the cornmeal because the flour and the cornmeal are very similar in texture, but I like the color of the cornmeal. So I'll start with the cornmeal at the bottom because it's the finest grain. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it's the smallest bit of sediment. It's not chunky and big. It's pretty fine and small like sand. So the closer you can get to sand, that's going to be at the bottom. And then our next grain will be our rice, followed by our lentils. And then we'll have, let's see, I think it'll be our cereal, and then last will be our beans. So let's move everything aside here, and we'll get started with filling up our jar. All right, I'm going to start with our cornmeal. And you want to just fill up your jar enough so that you can see a good layer of the cornmeal and of each material that you're using. And you don't even have to use grains or food products. You can do whatever you have lying around in the house, like cotton balls or puff balls, maybe feathers, things like that. You just have to make sure you put it in the order from the smallest, tiniest grain to the largest size. All right, next I'm going with the rice. I'll open this up and I'll pour that rice in there. You want to go gentle so that you don't disturb that first layer as much. And I'm going to add a little bit more. I think I could probably put almost the whole thing in here. I might need some of this rice for later. Okay, now I'm just going to tap it gently so that it is nice and evenly spread out. And I'll show you the layer that we've created so far. So we have 2 layers to our sediment jar. Next up is going to be our lentils. So here are the lentils. And Miss Lynn shows some grains that have different colors as well. That way you can really see the separation between the layers of rock. Our sediments, here we go. Look at that so far. This is looking really cool, right? Yeah. And up next, we have our cereal balls. I'm gonna pour a lot in here. I like these are fun. And the different layers in our rock formation don't always have to be the same width and size and depth. They can be different. So I have a big layer, a pretty thick layer of the cereal there. And last but not least, I will put my beans in here. And I'll have them go all the way to the top. There we go. Now, let's see what our final product looks like. Whoa, check it out. Look at that. Doesn't that look cool? all of the different textures, colors, and layers that make up our rock formation and our Grand Canyon, the mountains. Now, we also have an option to, if you don't want it to be so perfectly straight like this, you can tilt the jar slightly as you're pouring each grain in. And if you've ever done sand art, which is the colorful sand in a jar, sometimes they'll do that. That's also another fun project, but it's a little harder to find colored sand right now. So that's why we're using what we have at home. All right, so let's see. So far, this has settled a little bit, but it's hard to tell. Miss Lynn will make sure that I bring this in to class when it's fully settled, and I will show you the finished product. So I hope you enjoyed creating these sediment jars with Miss Lynn, and remember to take a picture and send it into lynn@Hudson'sHouseOfPlay.com. And I will see you next time. Goodbye to all my friends. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye to all my friends. I'll see you again. From your place to my place, from your room to the classroom. Goodbye to all my friends. I'll see